Down below in the description section, there's an 80-page NFL report with over 180 player blurbs, over 200 projections. It took me 6 weeks. It was 80 pages on my Word doc, and I tell you, it was tons of 2 a.m. bedtimes, which is pretty difficult when you have a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old that get you up at the butt crack of dawn. So enjoy it. Here's the thing. I'm not asking you to sign up at another site. I'm not asking you to give me an email. None of that garbage. It's for you. It's for the fantasy football community, for your support you've given me over the years. So enjoy it. Down below in the description section, grab it. Today we're talking about my top ranked quarterbacks, and we're going to go down my personal rankings. I'm going to show you a bit of their projections, and we're going to talk about why I appreciate them the way I do. Let's get to work. All right, so of course, Lamar Jackson is my number 1 ranked quarterback this season in redraft, and best ball in Dynasty comes in at number 2, and I'll talk about that in a hot second. You can see the photo right there on the screen showing you my personal top 5 ranks. I'll leave that up for a split second, and gone. So now we're going to keep going. We're going to talk about Lamar Jackson, and the Baltimore Ravens offense outscored every single NFL team by more than 50 points last year. What? What an offense. And now I think part of that is because we missed Patrick Mahomes for 3 games last year and potentially could have closed that gap if the Chiefs had gone bonkers in at least 1 or 2 of those games. But still, 50-point differential between first and second place is massive. You know, part of that had to do with his rushing ability and his ability to sustain drives, get out of trouble, keep the offense chugging along, and boy, oh boy, did they have big play after big play. And his 1,200 rushing yards last year was the 6th most in the entire NFL. Only 5 running backs had more rushing yards than he did, and he broke the single season record for quarterback rushing yards in a season. What a talent. And you'd think somebody like that maybe can't throw the football as well. Someone like Michael Vick, elite rushing ability, would be very volatile as a passer. But my goodness, he had 36 touchdown passes and only 6 interceptions. He protected the football like crazy. And I think the yardage could have been much better than the 3,200, a hair less than 3,200 passing yards, if the Ravens had to keep the foot on the gas for 4 quarters. You know, a lot of the times we saw 4th quarter coming around and they would just turn around, hand it off to their arsenal of running backs in the backfield that just seemingly kept smashing the football no matter who was handed the football. And this year, if the Ravens end up having some closer games, and I think, you're going to see some type of regression, I would assume, maybe not though, maybe everybody takes a step forward, then I think that Lamar Jackson has an opportunity to throw the football a few more times, throw it downfield a few more times, rack up some more yardage, and he has just the highest ceiling. There's no doubt about it. The rushing ability, we're talking about a guy who's going to rush for 700-800 more yards than every other NFL quarterback. That creates such a strong scoring floor, and of course raises the scoring ceiling. There's a lot to like there, and I don't mind it. Now, I talked about why he isn't my number 1 dynasty ranked quarterback. That's because I think that rushing ability often will lead to increased opportunity to get hurt, right? And I don't know if he is. I don't know, maybe he's a Russell Wilson type player where he's just going to always narrowly miss getting blown up in the open field and be smart sliding when he has to, getting out of bounds. But, we saw last year, those 1,200 yards, man, that guy was going for a touchdown every single time he tucked it and ran. And if he does that every time, it's only a matter of time until it's just a weird step, tweaks an ankle, tweaks a knee, gets hit low, blindsided, and, he misses some games. And that's where I look at the long-term upside of someone like Patrick Mahomes maybe being a little bit higher, and just because of the safety concern. That's it. Let's move on. All right, speaking of Patrick Mahomes and long-term safety and upside, he was the guy who got hurt and missed 3 games last year. So what does that say? I mean, we're splitting hairs here between Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson. They're both fantastic options, 1-2 for sure. And I think a lot of people are overblowing the regression in statistics last year from Patrick Mahomes. Number 1, he missed 3 games. And number 2, this offense was missing Kareem Hunt, and they surely struggled in the backfield to find somebody who could be as explosive as he was, and you just can't replace that kind of talent with a bevy of running backs in the backfield. And that's what they tried to do. They tried to have all these running backs doing different roles, and it didn't work out. And I think this year with Clyde Edwards-Helaire, they have that explosive running back in the backfield. They have that all-around talent. They just got to keep Patrick Patrick Mahomes upright. If they can do that, sky's the limit, baby. And I think this offense around him is going to take a step forward. I truly do. Everyone's healthy. We have a full season of Tyreek Hill being healthy, not having off-season issues as of yet, and hopefully that will carry into the 2020 season. And, I think that some teams will be hindered by not having a full offseason, a full preseason of team, facilities and all these things, and, needing to build chemistry. I don't think the Chiefs need to do that. I think Andy Reid's the type of coach that can get this team, fired up from day one when they finally are able to circle up together as a team. And Patrick Mahomes has the upside and the talent to explode in 2020. And I think some of those young receivers like Demarcus Robinson, Tyreek Hill, McCole Hardman, and, the aging, I think it was he 28 years old, Sammy Watkins. I think those guys are all going to be fine. Probably even take a step forward this year in their progression as a wide receiver as well, except for, I think, Sammy Watkins. We kind of know what he is at this point. Now, I currently have him projected for 4,400 yards, 316 rushing yards, 36.3 touchdowns. I think that's conservative. I think if we get a full 16 games and Clyde Edwards-Helaire is the real deal, I think this offense is potentially the best in the NFL. I'm sorry, Baltimore. I think the Chiefs probably take back the scoring title here. All right, my man, Dak Prescott slides into number 3 this year. Number 3 in my quarterback rankings. That's right, Dak Prescott, baby. And he's up there in the top 5 around the industry. It doesn't matter who you're looking at. Everybody's high on him, and I don't blame them. With CeeDee Lamb in town, they have Amari Cooper potentially on his way out, and of course Michael Gallup around there as well. I think that, we have an offense taking another step forward. Dak Prescott, his arsenal around him, woo, baby, they're getting talented. And they got rid of, Jason Witten is gone, and Randall Cobb, both those guys were stone hands last year. They're the top 2 drop targets on the team. And I think that Prescott's floor is lifted by the rushing ability as well. He had 277 rushing yards last year, 3 touchdowns. And what I like most about him, 14 red zone carries. So it wasn't just give the ball to Zeke and hope he scores a touchdown. He clearly was trying to score as well. Those 4,900 passing yards, 30 touchdowns last season. I think that the passing yards potentially was a ceiling, but the passing touchdowns could certainly go up as he takes a step forward as a passer, and the offense around him takes a step forward in general. Everybody talks about deep ball throwing and, how efficient certain quarterbacks are, but nobody talks about Dak Prescott being the second most efficient quarterback in the NFL last year, throwing the ball down the field. And with CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup, and Amari Cooper stretching the field and causing safeties headaches at all turns, I think that, oh man, the upside of a few big splash plays each and every week is there, and the Cowboys could be one of those sneaky offenses this year that could end up being potentially the highest scoring in the league. And I definitely like the idea of targeting Dak Prescott and not trying to decipher which wide receiver is going to benefit from his talent and the talent around this team. I think Dak is the one that gets boosted and lifted the most, with CeeDee Lamb showing up and Michael Gallup entering, season 3. I think Amari Cooper entering season 5. These guys are going to progress as wide receivers. And who benefits the most? I think it's the guy at the top, man. King of the castle, Dak Prescott. All right, we got some uncharted territory for number 4 quarterback in our rankings, Deshaun Watson, because, well, he doesn't have DeAndre Hopkins. And what's this offense going to look like? Who knows? They brought in David Johnson to bolster the running game in the backfield, and I assume he's going to be able to take a step forward. I mean, it was a wrist injury, and I don't want to say he's over the hill. It's running backs. You never really know. Sometimes their star burns bright, but it burns quickly. If David Johnson comes back and looks like a boss again, and he's healthy and the fresh change of scenery is helpful for him, then I do think Deshaun Watson's floor will be a lot higher than we think right now. But man, I think there's a very wide range of outcomes this year for Deshaun Watson, and we're about to really find out what kind of quarterback he is without the staple of this offense, which was DeAndre Hopkins, week in and week out, being there and being consistent. And now he goes to Arizona to do that for Kyler Murray, who's on the rise, who we're going to talk about next. little prelude to our 5th-ranked quarterback. And Deshaun Watson does have solid wide receivers around him. The team brought in Brandon Cooks. I think that's a nice pickup. You know, he still has Kenny Stills and Will Fuller on the outside as well. That's a lot of speed between those three to get down the field. Now, I need all three of them to be healthy for me to feel confident about targeting Deshaun Watson. And I think it might be hard to grab Deshaun Watson over Kyler Murray due to the concerns around him. And the offense really is just a lot of new faces and losing their centerpiece of their passing game. You know, that massive target share that DeAndre Hopkins is taking with him. He had 30% of the targets last year. Who's going to fill in that void? It's not Brandon Cooks is not the guy that comes in and just grabs 30% of the targets. He might get 21, 22%. Who's going to step up, grab the other 8 to 10%? Is it going to be Will Fuller? Is he going to progress this season finally? He's had, incremental progression in all statistics every single year of his career, but he can't put it together. Drops are always an issue. Can't run the full route tree. I hope we see it this year. If we do, I think that Deshaun Watson could sneak past Dak Prescott. I don't think the gap is that big between the two, but there is a gap. I think there's a significant fall off from, Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes away from Dak Prescott. And then I think, after Dak Prescott, there's a little gap between him and Deshaun Watson. And I think the gap between Deshaun Watson and the number 5 quarterback that we're going to talk about right now, very tiny. And I think the upside of Kyler Murray, probably a little bit bigger. Oh man, he had such an outstanding rookie season. 3,722 passing yards, 544 rushing yards, and 24 total touchdowns. What? Not bad for a rookie. And now he gets DeAndre Hopkins. And they got rid of David Johnson. I mean, the sky is the limit for Kyler Murray as he progresses this season. Great coach behind him. Since 1920 among rookie quarterbacks, I had to read this one out, with over 300 passing attempts. Murray's rookie season ranked 7th in passing yards and 5th in total rushing yards. I mean, that's pretty phenomenal. He ranked 3rd in red zone carries, 2nd in rushing yards, 3rd in carries per game. And listen, rookies sometimes struggle throwing the ball down the field. They get overwhelmed. They just chuck it up. It's inaccurate. You see a lot of underthrows and overthrows from rookies when they're throwing the ball past 20 yards. But boy, he had a 44.3% completion rate. That was the 6th best in the NFL, with the 9th most deep ball attempts. So it's not like he threw the ball down the field only a few times per game and then, had a great efficiency because, of the volume. It was just too low. No, the guy he was a top 10 deep ball thrower. And I think there's upside for days here now that we take into consideration that, Kenyon Drake and Chase Edmonds are going to be the 1-2 combo in the backfield instead of David Johnson. And on top of that, DeAndre Hopkins has come to town. I mean, that is progression in both the running game and the passing game for a quarterback heading into his 2nd NFL season. This is why I think that Kyler Murray potentially passes Deshaun Watson this year in the, points scored category. And I think there's a path for Kyler Murray to slide into number 3 in a very sneaky fashion if he progresses as a passer. And I currently have him projected conservatively at 3,700 yards passing, 26 passing touchdowns, a hair under 500 yards rushing, and just over 3 rushing touchdowns. And I think that, that is his floor. I think the upside this year is for much, much more. I hope you enjoyed our very first Rise or Fall Fantasy Football production. Of course, patreon.com/Rise or Fall. We have a massive draft kit. We have all sorts of articles, videos, cheat sheets. We have full NFL statistics database that you can use that is all 2019 stats, red zone stats, all sorts of things for every single position. I mean, there's 130 content pieces by the time draft season comes around, and it's just $4.99. Give it a look, patreon.com/Rise or Fall. Thanks for checking out my video today. If you like free things, just hit that subscribe button. Come back for more videos. Oh, and hit that like button. That one helps me out as well. Stay tuned for more fun videos, more free videos. Again, subscribe, hit that like button, and together we rise or fall. Take care, my friends.